It does give me great honor this morning to introduce, and this is my first time meeting Renee, but I hope it's not our last time, that we can work together, that something is going to come out. I just certainly appreciate your ministry and what God has laid on your heart, and He's laid something on all of our hearts. All of us have a ministry. So Renee, you come and share with us.
Can everybody hear me? It's such a blessing to be here today at Fairview Baptist Church. I want to go ahead and apologize right now. 9 times out of 10, when I speak somewhere or I talk to someone, they always look at me and say, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm from here. Where are you from?" I guess it's that Gocher accent. It just will not leave me for some reason. No matter how hard I try to shed it, it just won't happen. This morning, I do want to share with you some statistics on homelessness in our country. I'm not going to do worldwide statistics. I think we need to concentrate more here at home. When I share these statistics on homelessness in America, I'm going to take you right to what we deal with those statistics right here in Gaffney. The fact is, first and foremost, that there's over 500,000 homeless in our country. And what defines a homeless person is someone that does not have a place to sleep at night. That's more or less their own. But when we talk about homeless, it's also grouped into people that are in shelters, people that are in transitional housing, and also those that are on the street. Our ministry concentrates solely on the street homeless, those that live at absolutely, most of them will absolutely refuse to go to a shelter. We work very closely with the Harbor of Hope, our Miracle Hill mission here in Gaffney. Me and Terry Black, we're kind of like a team with that mission, and the fact that God planted me in a job that led to this ministry. I give a phone call one day to someone I know looking for employment. All I needed was my foot in the door, and I've got so much management experience, I knew once I got in the door, I'd be okay. And when I called him and asked him about it, he said, "I can't believe you just called me. I got to talk to somebody. Let me call you right back." And he called me back about 15 minutes later and offered me a position with the company he was at, outsourced staffing, and to be an on-site manager. I worked inside the outsource office for about a month in training, and I do believe the Lord will plant you exactly where He needs you. And He started showing me all these homeless people that I had never seen coming through Gaffney before. I started seeing needles in the back of the strip mall where outsource is at. I've seen homeless people digging through trash looking for something to eat. And I watched them coming in and out of the woods behind outsource staffing and Walmart over there. And it just broke my heart. It started with, "Let me buy you a meal." And then the girls in the office joined in, and then we just started buying stuff that we could send with them too. And from there, it just grew into the Gaffney Street Homeless Ministry. One thing I'm proud of about our ministry is that we will absolutely accept no cash donation. And the main reason for that is the Lord started this ministry, and the Lord provides everything we need for this ministry through great people like y'all. Not one time has this ministry had a need for anyone on our street that the Lord didn't provide for that need. Our biggest goal, of course, we got to feed them, but the spirit's got to be fed too. There's a reason they're out here on the street, but there is nothing that Christ can't help them overcome. So before we do anything with them, we share the gospel message. Once we share the message with that person, we are always ministering and sharing the word of God with them. The Lord don't want that kind of life for nobody, not nobody. He loves his children, and he can lead them out of anything. I have seen the Lord bring people out of addiction that they never could have done it on their own. Some statistics, 500,000 people in America are homeless. Right now, here in Gaffney, we have about 20 on the street. Now, that number goes up and down depending on the season. Wintertime, they'll migrate. We put many on buses headed to Florida this past winter. For some reason, we stay in contact with them. We keep our phone number on our Facebook page so they can get in touch with us. I don't understand they want to come back. 9 times out of 10, they end up back here starting around springtime. We're starting to see more and more of them come back in. We call them, they're migrants. They just move from place to place. A lot of cities in our country make homelessness a crime. They're not allowed in their cities. So we don't have that here. Columbia in South Carolina has started to make it a crime, but around this part of the state, thank goodness it's not. I don't know where they would go, what they would do. They would have to hide out. So I think you've noticed here in Gaffney where our homeless stay, and it's for a reason. You always see them in the city. You go to Walmart, do you see them? Especially on the boulevard, especially downtown. And there's a reason why. Most of our homeless here in Gaffney, they have cell phones. They pick up on Wi-Fi services that are free Wi-Fi. They download this app that they can call and text anybody they want to. I get calls and texts from them all the time. We had at one time started taking up cell phones, and we would do a factory reset on them, and we would hand them out to our homeless so they would always have a way to reach out. And then it got really bad in the fact that they started stealing them from each other, actually beating each other up for them. So we cut that out. We're not going to encourage our homeless to turn on each other in any way. Our homeless also, they will steal from each other, take from each other. But one thing they will share is their drugs. I find that kind of odd that, drugs are expensive. They're not cheap. But they will share them. But they won't share a bite to eat with each other. They won't share, here I got a dry pair of socks, you can have those. They will not share that. They will go from site to site, taking from each other when the sites are unattended. The woods behind, when I was at OpSource and I saw them coming in and out of the woods, one day I said, I'm going to walk in there and see what's going on. And I walked in there and I was shocked. It's a mess. There's trash everywhere. They have nowhere to really dispose of their trash around in the woods on their sites. The makeshift shelters that they have, they'll use tarps, cardboard, whatever they can get their hands on. And it's sad. What's even worse is that, they live in the filth that they create. So they'll get one site so dirty and trashy that they'll move to another site and then it'll get trashed up. We're looking to actually set trash cans out in those areas so at least they'll have somewhere to put their trash. We don't know what to do. We're thinking about paying them to clean it up. I think they need to be the ones to clean it up. They are the ones that created it. One statistic we have is over 57,000 veterans are homeless each night. That's according to HUD. 60% of them are in shelters, and the rest are unsheltered. Out of our homeless here in Gaffney, over half are veterans, and that's sad. I have talked to some people that want to start up a veterans homeless shelter strictly for veterans. I think it'd be a wonderful idea. Reason being is the veterans that are on your streets here in Gaffney, they have PTSD. They can be dangerous at times, especially when you mix that condition with addiction. You have to, and I think if they concentrate on that group specifically, most of them have the same thing in common, and they can address the situation better, I believe. Our next statistic is 1 in 5 homeless people suffer from an untreated severe mental illness. That's 1 in 5. That's in America. Here in Gaffney, that number's 4 in 5. We saw back in 1970 that they started to deinstitutionalize our psychiatric hospitals. Y'all remember when that started happening? The goal in that was to put them back into the community. Let the community deal with them on a one-on-one basis with follow-up care. But the communities wasn't ready to deal with the problem. Just last week, I had a homeless guy. I called Chris. He was at outsourced staffing, and I pull up, and he's at the door looking for me. And he, I think he had been on drugs all night. He was real paranoid in the fact that he thought that people were out to get him and find him, that he pulled his clothes out of his backpack and he said, "They've messed with my clothes, look at them." The clothes were fine. He said they stole all his hygiene products. He didn't have nothing, so I resupplied him. And he was just in a really bad way. So when we take the mental illness and then you add the drugs with it, they can almost be a ticking time bomb. And then you put on top of that they're right here in our cities. I mean, where we go to shop, where you go to get your groceries. So what we're looking to do in this ministry is we are looking to go to the city, and we want to ask for a piece of land. And we want to have some huts built. We're going to petition churches. We're going to petition our businesses in the area. And we feel like if we can get our homeless in one central area, it's going to be easier to provide their needs, medical, psychiatric, feeding them, sheltering them, getting them clothes, and bringing the Word of God. I don't think getting people to step up and do everything I just listed is going to be hard to do. The people here in Gaffney, they want to help. They just need to know where to go to make it happen. One quarter of our homeless in America are children. What I am so thankful for here in Gaffney is we don't have them on our street. Thank God. That would kill me. That's one thing I've never seen on our streets. But our shelter, we have them. They're there. Most of these are with mothers that are running from criminal domestic violence. I work with Terry Black at the homeless shelter. He'll call me up. He'll say, "Renee, I got a girl here or I got a guy here and we need to get them to work." And I'll say, "Okay, Terry, get them over here to me. Let them get them processed. We're going to see what we can do. We'll probably have them to work, usually 9 times out of 10 within 24 hours. I like to work closely with the shelter. The more beds we can free up there and get these people on their own, the more beds we have free to put those on the street into them. This past winter, we're dealing with a veteran. He's got PTSD. It was 20 degrees that night. The night before, it was going to be colder. We went through that real bad cold snap this past winter, and I'm begging him, let me take you to the shelter. You can just spend the night there and leave, because they will raise the flag. When they raise that white flag, it means come on in for the night. And he just absolutely refuses to go. Now, I want to ask you, why do you think people rather be on the street than in a shelter? Anybody have any idea why in the world would you turn down a warm meal 3 times a day, a roof over your head? And our shelter here in Gaffney is really, really nice. It's nice. It's a clean facility. Why would you turn that down? They can't do their drugs at the shelter. They have rules to follow at the shelter. Our homeless on these streets, they do not like rules. They want to do their drugs when they can get them. One thing I am also happy about, we have joined, the more people that reach out to help the homeless, the better off our homeless are. We work with a place in North Carolina. It's right across our state line that helps our addicts on the street. It's a 1-year program. It's spiritually based. The first thing they got to do is more or less get right with the Lord. And as they continue to grow spiritually, before their year's out, they work with them to get them a job, to get them a place to live, and basically keeps them off the street. Statistics say that if a person is on our street for 5 years, that they won't come off. It'll be a way of life from now on. The hardest ones to reach and to get off our street are our addicts. Over half of our addicts are alcoholics. Then you combine the alcohol with the other drugs, because it does lead to other drugs too. It's hard to get that person off the street. They'll finally get such a name for themselves in a town, they'll just head to the next town. It's hard to keep up with our homeless here on the street because they come and go so fast. We do have some that have been here a while in Gaffney. Chris has lived in Gaffney for 20 years. He claims he's been on our street since December. Chris has been on our street on and off longer than that. Because I've dealt with him longer than that. But if you look at Chris and say, how long you been living out here, Chris? He'll say, since about December. Chris has been on our street for at least 2 years that I know of. He does have a mental condition. He has mixed it with drugs. Chris is going to be one of those that I fear because it's already been 2 years. I cannot get him to go to the shelter. He will not take any offers of help for his addiction. I actually asked Chris, I said, I want to ask you a question. How long have you been on drugs? I'm not talking about when you first started trying them out. I'm talking about in full-blown addiction. How long have you been on drugs? And he said, I've been addicted for 14 years. And he refused to go to our treatment center that we work with because it was going to take a year of his life. And I said, you'll give 14 years to addiction, but you won't give 1 year to try to come out of it. And as I'm talking to him, I finally realized I don't think he's ready anyway. And I said, Chris, you got a needle in your pocket? He said, yeah, I got one. Well, if you want help, what you doing with the needle in your pocket? I said, it's just in case, isn't it? He said, well, yeah. And I said, when you get rid of that needle in your pocket and you really want help, come back and talk to me about it. I really don't want to, you can tell when they're ready, when they're not. I don't want to waste our resources, time or money or effort into something that they're just looking for a temporary place to stay and that's it. 6% of the general population suffer from severe mental illness. Now that's just our regular population. 20 to 25% of the homeless suffer from severe mental illness. And according to government studies, half of the population self-medicate, and they are further at risk for addiction and poor physical health. Now, the physical health aspect, we do have some resources here in Gaffney. We got a clinic that offers free help, but you can't get them to go. A lot of times when they do go, they just want to go to the emergency room out here in our town, and because they just want to walk in, walk out, get treated and leave, get whatever meds they can get their hands on and take off. Being chronic homeless takes almost 20 years off their lifespan. The things they're exposed to, they don't take care of themselves. It takes 20 years off their life. I am more than sure that drugs has a lot to do with that. So when we're out here with our street homeless here in Gaffney, just know we are fighting addiction, okay? Even with our mental illness out here on our street, we are still fighting addiction. They get pulled into it too. So whenever you see one out here on the street, promise me this: never give them a dime. Buy them a meal, hand them a blanket. Don't ever hand them $1. Because if you do, you're going to help feed that addiction, because that's what they're going to use it for. Our ministry, we will not hand a dime to none of our homeless. We'll buy a bus ticket, we'll buy a tent, we will buy a meal, and we will hand them food, clothing. We find out exactly what they need, we get it for them, and we make sure they get it within 24 hours of any need that they have. We are on call to them 24/7. If they call me 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm out here, I need this, I go. I go armed, but I go. My husband's been a blessing to me while he's actually joined my side in serving the homeless. Because there's a lot of things, being a woman, that you just don't need to be out here doing by yourself. And I do encourage you, when you're in a public place dealing with one, you're pretty well safe. Never, ever try to do it on a one-on-one basis. And like when I go out in the woods, I got somebody with me. And we got each other's backs. I did have the opportunity before I started up the ministry. I talked with Mr. Jimbo Martin, and I took his concealed weapons class. And he's given me a lot of pointers on how to deal with the homeless. So I am a concealed carrier. I will take my weapon with me when I'm out here serving, because of what we are serving. I trust the Lord, don't get me wrong, but He has given me the ability to protect myself. And I have to protect myself. Whenever I was talking earlier about if our homeless are out on these streets for 5 years, it's next to impossible to get them off the street. It's a sad case that 25% of the people that are homeless in America, those are the ones that will always be on our street. They have reached that 5-year mark. I was watching a video the other day of a guy that's been on the street for 20 years. And I don't think he could think of any other way to live at this point. A while back, I saw a video on Facebook for one of our homeless named Philip here in Gaffney. And I'm not going to lie, the video kind of made me mad because it was a guy videoing himself, Philip digging in the trash looking for something to eat, and he's videoing himself. Look, I'm giving him my lunch today. And I think he was kind of exploiting our homeless and lifting himself up at the same time, and I just didn't quite take kindly to it. But a blessing did come out of the video in the fact that some guys that Philip went to school with saw the video, recognized Philip, recognized where he was while he was digging in that trash can, and they come looking for him. They got a hold of Philip and they cleaned him up. They took him to a hotel, and those 3 guys paid for his room at the hotel for a month. Philip draws a check. He is disabled. They took his card from him to let his money build up. Philip has friends on the street that knows when Philip's check comes in. And they'll invite Philip, come on into the house, you can spend the night. They'll let Philip fall asleep, or they'll just beat him up. They'll take his card, they'll go to the ATM, empty it off because they know how much is on it. And then they give him back his card so they can have access to it again next month, so he won't cancel the card, or where they just want full access to his money. That happens a lot with our street homeless here in Gaffney. I see it all the time. The majority of our street homeless do draw checks, disability checks, or they have food stamps. Here in Cherokee County, the average person gets about $200 a month in food stamps for one person. But then we got the drugs, and they'll cash that food stamp money in. They'll talk somebody, give me $50, you can get $100 worth of groceries. And that's how they sell their food stamps. Even though it's on a card, that's what they do with it. So what we noticed first of the month, there's not a big need out here. They'll get them a hotel room for the night. They'll buy up some drugs, and we won't see them for about a week. Once the week's out, because there's not a lot of money that the disability brings in. It's usually anywhere, what I find with our homeless out here, they get anywhere from $600 to $800 a month. It's usually on the lower end, and that's not enough to live off of. That's why we have street homeless when we have people on disability. They got to choose between a place to live and pay their bills or their addiction. And they'll choose their addiction before they'll put a roof over their own heads. So, here's what statistics also say. A lack of connection to a church or a religious community increases homelessness. Individuals with weak social ties are more likely to become homeless. The lifetime incidence of homelessness is reduced by 60% for individuals with strong family ties, or ties to churches and ties to friends. I want to read that one more time. A lack of connection to a church or a religious community increases homelessness. Individuals with weak social ties are more likely to become homeless. The lifetime incidence of homelessness is reduced by 60% for individuals with strong ties to family, church, and friends. And that, my friend, is why we're on the street. We do offer them church service. There's a ministry here in Gaffney that does a mission and a meal. Every Sunday they set up in our downtown area and they have church service. I cannot, for some reason, get a lot of our homeless to attend the service. That's why it's so important to share Christ on a one-on-one basis with them and to minister to them on a one-on-one basis. People come up to me all the time. What do you need? What can we do? Y'all got us some bags. These are our blessing, what we call blessing bags. This one has hygiene products in it. What I like about this one, Miss Lisa showed me, is we got the New Testament in it. The thing about this book, it's going to be read. They have a lot of time on their hands, and they do read materials, I find, that's handed out to them. It may end up getting stolen. This is one thing we don't mind if it does, because if somebody took the time to take it, they're going to take the time to read it. Another thing that I like that I've never had in our blessing bags is y'all got a list of phone numbers in here. Gaffney Police Department, Cherokee County Sheriff Department, Emergency Fire and Rescue, Suicide Prevention Hotline. That is a number to have on the list. Another one I like on here is the Miracle Hill Ministry Harbor of Hope number and our Gaffney Soup Kitchen. This ministry will go to our soup kitchen. We do it about twice a month on Saturdays. And what we do is, while they're feeding them, we share a surplus of hygiene products that food stamps can't buy. Because not only are homeless going there, we have people that are very poor going there to eat. We do like to cater to our children at the soup kitchen, this ministry does. Y'all know how kids just love those canned Chef Boyardee raviolis, spaghetti and meatballs. Those kids have a fit over that. Like I said earlier, they draw about $200 per person in food stamps. Mama's probably not going to spend the money or the food stamp money on that kind of, because it's just getting higher and higher out here. Kids have a fit over that when we take it out there to hand it out to them. Food stamps also don't cover these hygiene products. We get a lot of donations with the big bottles of shampoo that's hard for our homeless to carry around. So we will take the big bottles of stuff, lotion, shampoo, anything we have a surplus of. We don't want to see nothing that's given to this ministry go to waste. We will share it with agencies like that. We personally go out and hand it out to them. What I like about our soup kitchen is they have a message also that they give every time they serve a meal, and it's just a blessing. But you know, there's other things the ministry needs that won't fit in this bag. So I want everybody to close your eyes a minute. And I get people all the time, you know, what do you need? What can we help you with? So I want you to picture yourself. Just you, not your family, just you. And you're on the street. You have no money in your pocket. You have no one to turn to. And you have nowhere to go. What do you need? To make it through the night, what are you going to have? That's what this ministry needs. Whatever come to your mind right then, that's what we need. Right now, this ministry is in dire need of tents. We don't need big tents. We need the smallest tents you can get your hands on, enough for 1 or 2 people to fit inside of to lay down and go to sleep at night. That's all we need, a tent big enough for. Reason being is because they have to move around on the street. So they need something that's easy to take down, that they can throw on their shoulder and walk away with. We call it portable housing. Sometimes it's the difference between life and death, especially in the wintertime. Our needs do change according to the season. Right now, the hygiene products is great. We got a big need for them. Our homeless actually, Another reason why they love the boulevard so much here in Gaffney, there's a creek that runs behind Walmart's, and that's where they go to bathe. So we're always giving them rags, soap, shampoo, and I'll pick on them, say, all right, head on to the creek. That creek runs all the way down the back end of that boulevard. I don't know where it ends. I have no idea. But I followed that creek myself for a long ways. Food is our biggest need too. We have two different kinds of blessing bags. This is the one for hygiene. We do have the same size bag we like to hand out because it's easy to grab the bag, so here you go. And there's usually enough in there to last at least 2 days for them until we can see them again, or they'll seek us out, I need more. We also keep on hand the bigger cans of food, but we love the Pop Tops because they're convenient for them. They don't have a can opener or nothing to eat with. So whenever you buying anything for our street homeless, just remember where they're at, what they might not have. Convenience is key. We were getting gift cards from restaurants. Then we found out they're trading those in for drugs. So we quit handing that out, so it's purely just food. Now, restaurants still help us out in the fact that they'll fix us up stuff, we'll take it, and we'll hit the street with it and hand out the actual food. Instead of, the cards just like money to them. Anything that resembles cash or they can do with cash in any way, we encourage you not to give it. We don't want to see what you have for good turn into something that can be detrimental to them or can aid in the reason why they're even out there. So I want to open it up now. Anybody got any questions about the ministry or how we do things or?
Well, you answered most of mine.
Okay.
Just one thing, now, as far as what we can do as a church.
Yes.
You said we can buy food.
Yes.
Canned food, stuff. Where do we take it?
You can call me. The number is on our Facebook page. I work here in Gaffney. I'll gladly go anywhere and pick anything up that's going to help our street homeless. Also, outsourced staffing in Gaffney is one of our drop-off spots. They get people all the time coming to drop off stuff for our ministry. They actually have designated a room for us back there to put. Whenever I need something, that's where I go. If I don't have it on hand, I always stop in.
So food-wise, what are you suggesting?
Food-wise, especially in our bags, the smaller cans of the Beanie Weenies with the Pop Top. I like the Beanie Weenies because the beans have a lot of protein in them. We need bottled water. We don't like to hand out sodas. It's just something we don't like to keep on hand, really. But they need water bad. We need to keep them hydrated, especially this time of year. We go through some bottled water. In these bags can go the small cans of the Beanie Weenies, packs of crackers, nutrition bars, the Ensure drinks. The canned drinks can fit in these bags. We don't like you to put candy in them, just because it may be sitting in my car for the day. Because I'll load up my car in the morning. I'll go to work. My car's sitting out in the parking lot because I'll make my rounds as soon as I get off of work before I go home. And I don't want anything that can melt to be in there. Gum is good too. They love to have gum. That's a treat for our street homeless. They love it. Hard candy's good. It won't, melt while I'm at work. So just keep in mind whatever you think would be convenient for them. We do hand out, with the canned foods, we do give out spoons, forks, whatever they might need to eat it with. We do supply that. We have people that make up little baggies with a napkin and a spoon or a fork in it. And so we just grab a few of those along with several things we're giving them. We do hand out just canned food without the bags, or crackers, or cookies, stuff like that. They love Little Debbie cakes. They love Little Debbie cakes. Go ahead.
I have several questions. Are there many women on the street here in Gaffney?
You know,
I've read that malnutrition affects the COVID patients more. Do we find that it has affected the homeless here?
you
in
know
Gaffney?
it's not.
And where do they send their checks if they have no address? Do they just have a bank account? And where do they get the drugs?
Okay. The women on our street, I have yet to encounter one by herself. She's usually with a man. I'll pull her to the side and say, "What are you doing?" He's got you on the street. I can get you in the shelter. But she's with him for a reason. And they're both doing drugs. Or one of them suffers a mental condition and the other one won't leave them. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I kind of get that. But what I don't get is, what are they still doing on the street? Because the one with the disability draws a check and the other one could have a job and they could make it fine. So it still goes back to drugs and addiction. Now, I do want to say this, I keep driving that in, drugs and addiction. But that's what drugs do. It will make you homeless. It will rip you from your families. And to be just quite honest with you, that's what we're battling out here on our streets here in Gaffney. As far as how do they get their money, these cards are such a going fad now. They don't have food stamps like they used to and paper. They're cards now. And the same way with disability. If you don't have a checking account, they will send you a card to get your money on. They'll supply the card.
Where do they send it?
They'll just use an address. Every one of our street homeless, they do have family here. The ones that are actually here from Gaffney, or they have a family from somewhere, or they have a friend that has an address. The thing is, and I've seen it, our homeless will dwindle down a little in the winter, simply because family will start feeling bad. Oh my goodness, they're going to be out all night. They're going to freeze to death. If something happened, I don't want to live with that. And they'll let it back in their home. Now, as Christians, I'm going to say this. The Lord wants you to watch out what you pull in your house. And families will tolerate it to a certain point where they just can't tolerate it no more, and then they have to go again. If you've ever had an addict in your family, I think it's touched probably every life probably sitting in here. It's just something that's hard to live with inside your home. We're not to pull that into our house. Go ahead.
As a veteran, I'm glad to see that you have a specialized ministry towards veterans.
Yes.
Because they're specialized people.
Yes, they are.
But what I wonder, whatever veteran learns very early is that dealing with the Veterans Administration and for benefits and so on is a real challenge.
Yes.
It's paperwork. How do the person presents himself as a veteran in your ministry? How do you verify that in fact he is a veteran?
Well, as far as this ministry goes, they're still all homeless. What we do is, especially with our veteran, we know where to send them to get help. I've noticed they're building a veterans retirement home here in Gaffney, and it is nice. And I thought to myself, I said, how sad that my veterans that are homeless out here on the streets going to have to wait to retirement before they can even walk in a place like that and use it. There's just not enough help for our veterans out here. Now, I do want to share with you this. The ones that I've encountered on our street, I can't even get them to go to the shelter. things, and they've talked to me about things they've seen and done while in the service, you know, especially with Iran going on over there. They've seen a lot, and it's really affected them in a very negative way. A lot of them don't even like to admit the fact that they have PTSD because it's not even being diagnosed with them.
It's a debating illness
Yes,
that they face.
I think for them to admit it is admitting defeat, and they don't want to admit that. But nobody wants to admit something's wrong with me mentally. Nobody wants the association with the stigma that it brings. But we just keep sharing Christ with them. That is the most important thing this ministry does, is sharing the gospel. And we do thank the Lord for the other agencies that's out there to cater to people. But I'm going to tell you, our government has got to step up with our veterans. I was hoping we was going to see more done when Trump took office on this. I think improvements have been made, but it's just not enough that we're even seeing it. There's got to be a major overhaul on that. Any more questions? Now,
I'd like to thank you. I have a scripture I want to share. It came to me as you were talking. Because homeless is a responsibility of all of us.
that's right.
And this was Jesus talking, says in Matthew chapter 25, says, "Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me drink. When I was a stranger, you took me in. When I was naked, you clothed me. When I was in prison, you came to visit me." And they asked in so many ways, "Lord, when did we do all this?" And Jesus said, "When you done it unto the least of these, my brethren, you've done it unto me." So I think we all have a part. And I just thank God for your message and what you do. And we want to be a part of however we can minister.
I want to thank you for that. I just want to say that this ministry's been nothing but a blessing in my life. It's not been a hindrance. I don't feel like I'm actually even working in it. This town has so many people that really want to help. I just don't know how to help.
Right.
But I do want to say this too, as far as sharing Christ with people. You know, Jesus didn't ask us if you would, if you get time, or if you can fit it in today. You know, he commands us to share the gospel. And I still think more than anything, that's what can help everyone on our street first and foremost. And what I like to tell them when I'm sharing the gospel is that if you have Jesus as your Lord and Savior, you will never be alone out here. Not ever. So,
Again, we thank you so much.
and I thank y'all for your interest.
Before she leaves, I'm going to ask Brother Jerry if you would dismiss us.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be awakened to the needs that are around us. Sometimes we think about ourselves and we're not conscious of the pain and the suffering that's around us. And we got a message today that we can take home with us and take to our heart. Lord, we thank you that we are all here because we were saved, because Christ has come into our heart. You've died on the cross for us and we accepted that. We need to take that love that you've given us and share it with those around us. And we pray that we'll do that in Christ's name.